Dust storms hit New York, Chicago, and Boston. In Manhattan, the streetlights come on at midday. A monstrous dust storm 1,800 miles wide, from the Great Plains to the Atlantic Ocean. The air turns to earth. The storm carries 3 tons of dust for every American alive. Ships stop off the eastern seaboard, not sure what is happening. The cloud reminds the captain of the ship, the Deutschland, of the sands of the Sahara blowing out to sea. But now, the clouds are devouring the Statue of Liberty. Dust storms were born out of a 100 million acre dead zone, 2,000 miles away in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Colorado. The Great Plains had once been the most fertile grasslands on Earth. The topsoil was 6 feet deep, but it has been plowed up and used up by 4 generations of farmers. Now, the sun has dried it up.
What really did the farmers in was an environmental cataclysm that involved an extended drought, high winds, and the loss of millions and millions of tons of topsoil. It was almost as though the heavens themselves had turned against the farmers.
By 1930, the rains virtually stopped. The lighter organic matter, the best soil, is literally gone with the wind. The tiny particles of soil are suspended in the air. Then a freakish phenomenon happens. Static electricity builds between the earth and the dust. Like a magnet, the static electricity sucks up more and more dust, feeding itself, growing in size and power. A monster is created. The dust is lifted up to 10,000 feet. Powered by high-altitude winds, the monster rips across the country looking for prey. April 14th, 1935, Lamar, Colorado. Louise Walton, once a Broadway dancer and an actress. She gives up the glamour to breathe the clean, dry air of the prairies. The doctors say her lungs need it. Louise thrives on the southern plains, and so did her 6-year-old daughter, Jean. Until recently. Their rural dream has become a nightmare. 49 dust storms in the last 3 months. But today, the air is crisp and clear. Jean has just got out of hospital with respiratory problems because of the dust storms. Early that morning, 600 miles north, a cold front from Canada had hit a warm, high-pressure front. Perfect conditions to create the winds for a dust storm. But this is not just any duster. By the time it passes Bismarck, North Dakota, it's the biggest, strongest dust storm ever seen in America. The cold front drives the storm south across the prairies. It's heading straight for Louise and Jean's place at 65 miles per hour. It grows more and more powerful. It produces enough static electricity to power New York City. By the time the storm reaches Lamar, Colorado, it is 200 miles wide. The temperature plunges. 2:40 p.m. Jean finds herself looking into the heart of the storm.
Jamie?
It was like I was caught in a whirlpool. All of a sudden, it got completely dark. I couldn't see a thing.
The dust clouds contain over 300,000 tons of Great Plains topsoil. People tie themselves to ropes before going to a barn just a few hundred feet away. Cattle die, and when they are cut open, their stomachs are full of sand.
There are these memories of people that go for days and days and days, holed up inside of their little ranch houses, and they never see the light of day because the dust is so severe and it's so thick, over hundreds of miles. For days, they don't see light.
The tiny dust particles drill into the child's lungs. She comes down with dust pneumonia, the brown plague. The Red Cross set up 6 emergency hospitals in Kansas, Colorado, and Texas to deal with the rise of respiratory infections. Louise Walton had come to Colorado for the air. And now, doctors tell her that her little girl could die of it. There is an exodus of biblical proportions underway on the Great Plains. By 1936, farmers are losing $25 million a day.
Farming is no longer a possibility. The Great Depression takes hold. Their mortgage comes due, they can't pay it. They're not growing crops. They lose the family farm, they lose their identity.
A century before, 500,000 people had gone west on these same trails looking for hope. Now, 250,000 of them are fleeing the Dust Bowl in despair. But not everyone has the choice to leave. Jean and Louise survive Black Sunday and stay put. 2/3 of Dust Bowlers stick it out. They have nothing left but their determination and will.